Hey, everybody. Let's pick a bracket. Are you ready? I know I'm ready. I'm Mark Etheridge. I'm here with Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers, and we're going to go through and select 64 teams for our bracket. We do this every week. We go through and we try to understand, okay, where teams fit right now. Where do we project them to be on selection day, and do our wizardry and try to come up with the appropriate field. We're going to pick all the host sites. We're going to pick the top 8. We're going to pick the automatics. We're going to go through and fill out the at-larges and come up with usually around 68 to 69 teams that we'd like to include. And then we're going to cut 4 or 5 of those and end up with an even 64. So guys, we'll start at the top. I get to see Texas this weekend. They're freaking wizards, man. They find ways to win games. They are the number 1 team, and I will hear nothing to the contrary.
You don't even care what we have to say about this,
Don't
Mark?
care.
Come on.
No.
Come on. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. Easy one. What do we got after that?
So after that, I'm gonna say after Texas, let's go with a group that we need to talk about. Okay, so that group is going to be, say, Arkansas, LSU, Florida State, Clemson. Is there anyone else at that high level?
I think you probably are on the right track here.
North Carolina.
North Carolina would be in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's too early to bring them up, but it might not be too early soon. But I mean, NC State, keep an eye on them. Certainly
playing great.
Top 8. Yep.
Yeah, they're playing great. The RPI is not where it needs to be, but maybe it will be. If they keep playing the way they are. So,
but yeah, and as far as this top half of the top 8, I think you're on the right track there.
Yeah, just kind of looking through here. I mean, the thing, Arkansas's lost 3 series in a row. They've kind of been in this group, and their closing set. I mean, they've got Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. That's as tough as it comes. I mean, that may be the 3 best teams in the country, and that's who they play. So I'm not sure. I mean, if they win that, it's great, right? You have great opportunity to improve your stock, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go Arkansas right now just because of how they're trending. LSU is a team that's trending really well, had the huge series win, as Kendall saw down in Baton Rouge.
Yep.
And I like what they did moving Case and Evans into the 3rd spot. I feel differently about them. I don't know if you guys do, but having that trio of starters, I really like how they're trending. Of course, they go to A&M, they could lose this weekend. So it's, again, that's life in the SEC, but still.
Yeah, and they still have Arkansas at home. So
yeah.
The tricky thing for us right now with this clump of SEC teams is that the teams with the best RPIs, aside from Texas, obviously, the teams with the best RPIs are Georgia and Vandy, who are just 12-9 in the league, and then Auburn, who's 11-10. Those are 2, 3, 4 in the RPI. And then you've got LSU, who's trending well and is 14-7, but they're down at 9 in the RPI, and Tennessee's at 10. They're 13-8. So, aside from Arkansas probably has the best combination of RPI at number 5 with their current conference record, which is 14-7. However, they've lost 3 straight series, as you said, and the remaining schedule is hard. And so it's like there's not an easy answer in this whole clump of SEC teams. And on the ACC side, it was Clemson was the easy answer, and then they got swept. And suddenly they're 13-8 in the league, and they're in 5th place. And you've got Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson just bang, bang, bang in a row, 6, 7, 8 in the RPI. I don't know how to separate those teams right now. And so, it's
if we're projecting, who do you think is going to win the ACC? Do you think it's going to be NC State?
I think I do, Mark. I mean, they're 15-6, and you've got 2 road series left for the Wolfpack, at Miami, at North Carolina. And then they're versus Stanford. And I think there's I think they win one of those road series.
Yeah.
They could win all the series, or they could lose both those road series. I don't know. But my feeling is like a 5-4 finish feels realistic. Maybe it's just 4-5. And even so, looking at 19 or 20 wins in the league.
And I don't know that the RPI is high enough to put them in yet. I guess
coming,
that
though.
means.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
North Carolina.
but everyone else is jumbled.
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina right now, who hosts NC State next weekend, they're 9-4 against Q1, and they've got 21 wins against Q1 and Q2. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and they're 15-9 in the league is perfectly fine. They're in second place, tied with Georgia Tech, game and a half behind the Wolfpack. 3 games back in the loss column, however. But so yeah, I mean they would make the most sense as the kind of their top ACC team in the pecking order, or Florida State, who's 12-6 in the league. It's statistically, I mean, percentage points ahead of North Carolina actually for second place. I should say that. So I don't know how those again, but I think North Carolina probably has the better metrics with the Q1 wins that Kendall talked about. I mean, Florida State is 10-8 Q1. The difference, I guess, is
it's 11 game difference.
Yeah, UNC's only played 6 games against Quad 4 and only 6 games against Quad 3. They've won all those games. Florida State's played 13 against Quad 4, and they're 13-0.
I think for me, I think I would have North Carolina and Clemson in the top 8. It's just a matter of where in the top 8.
And what about Florida State? Florida State also?
Yeah. Probably so. I think those are the 3 right now for me from the ACC. I think NC State's in that next 8.
I think
for now.
Yeah. I think the fact that Florida State has Clemson and North Carolina at home gives me a belief that they're probably the
playing the odds. Yeah. Playing the odds. Yeah. I think just kind of thinking through this, I think I like LSU next and then Florida State.
Okay.
I think that's my next tier here.
I think so too.
Okay. I'm good there.
Just have a lot of belief in LSU. Love where they are in the standings. I think the RPI it's not gonna be.
I think if they can get out of College Station with a series win, I think they win their final 3 series.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly have to like them at home against Arkansas, and then also, going to South Carolina at the end.
Yep.
Who are we projecting as the automatic in the ACC? Oh, we can get to that later.
I would say,
I mean, whichever team we put as the top. So if it's Florida State, then let's just go Florida State.
Okay.
I would say Florida State, yeah.
Okay. So that gives us Texas, LSU, and Florida State in the top 3. That next group of teams, it's the North Carolina, it's Clemson, it's Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas. I think those for me are that next group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll say again, I recognize that as of today, NC State's RPI isn't there, but I mean it has climbed.
They're coming
from like 40 or something to 22, and they got 2 road series coming up. Like that RPI is going to keep going up, assuming they don't just totally fall on their face.
Yeah,
I can look at the needs report.
I guess for me, I kind of want to see what they do against North Carolina.
Yeah.
This weekend.
And where is that?
Or next weekend.
Yeah. So for what it's worth, the RPI math, according to Boys World's RPI needs report, says they currently don't have a path to the top 8 in the RPI, and just to get in the top 16, they're gonna need to win 9 of their last 11 games. So that basically says, I mean, where they are, 22. Yeah, they'll probably finish around 20, or in the kind of somewhere in that 16 to 22 range. I mean, if they win 9 of the last 11, then they could jump to 14 or whatever, head in the conference tournament. But regardless, I think they're probably, it's enough to host, but maybe not enough for top 8.
I'm tracking with you. Yep. So for me, that next group, I still think Arkansas is their resume is really good based on the early part of the season.
Yep.
I like them here.
I did too. Number 5 RPI with that conference record. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So then, I think I'm leaning North Carolina here.
Yeah, same.
And then after that, I would go Tennessee.
Can everyone see the? Sorry, I just saw in the comments here. Can everyone see the spreadsheet?
I just now put it up there.
Okay, sorry.
So that was my fault. Sorry about that. Thanks for letting us know, Aaron.
I was just making sure. I just was trying to be responsive to the viewers here.
Yeah,
I did like that Noah asked, "Hey, is this live?" as in like really live.
Yeah.
Yes, we are live.
Live.
It really cuts down on the swearing.
I do like North Carolina there, and I like Tennessee there.
Yep.
I still, even though Tennessee's lost 3 of the last 4 series, still 8-4 on the road, 12 wins against Q1. I think they're going to finish strong. They have Auburn at home this weekend. That's more Q1 games. I like Tennessee after.
And they were so close to winning in Baton Rouge.
Oh,
oof. Okay. So we good
on
with Clemson?
On the side note, Jared Jones's ball is still traveling.
We good with Clemson at 7 as the next team?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Unless who else?
Yeah, I mean, I would throw.
Out there.
I mean, I don't think they go from 2 to totally out in 1 week. It's their first series loss of the year.
First series loss. I think we can give them a little bit of slack. I mean, it's and yes, they're only 13-8 in the league, 5th place, but they're only 2 games out of first. I mean, it's all still very bunched. It's very bunched at the top of the ACC.
Yeah. And I like Georgia in the 8th spot.
I think.
Yeah, I mean Georgia.
It's Georgia or Vandy. I mean, Vandy
has the head-to-head.
Yeah,
they have the same conference record.
Right. Well, maybe Vandy should be here now.
Yeah, I mean Vandy 11-11 quad 1, Georgia 9-8.
Yeah.
Vandy is the slightly better non-conference strength of schedule, not a huge factor there.
Right. Yeah, I mean it was a sweep. It wasn't just a sweep. 2 out of 3.
It was a sweep. I think I go Vandy.
I mean, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. I was going to say, let me ask you all about this one. I mean, should we be given a harder look here at UC Irvine?
Yes.
I mean, 11 RPI, 19-2 in the Big West, number 19 non-conference strength of schedule. How about this? 16-5 on the road. 16-5 on the road is incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to put them over Vanderbilt, but if you're the committee, I mean, do you look at a West Coast team who literally they look at strength of schedule, they look at, have you gone on the road? Have you tried to play really good teams? Like Irvine's checking every single box.
I kind of like that, Kendall.
Yeah, go Irvine 8 and then Georgia or Vandy or Georgia 9.
I agree with you. And I'll tell you what, Irvine's for real too. Having just been out there to see him for a couple of games, I had heard everyone talking about how good they were, and see it for myself. I mean, I'm a believer. Mm-hmm. I think they're really good. I think they're balanced and complete.
I will say this though, since part of this exercise is now and I'm projecting ahead. Not a lot of margin for error for Irvine RPI wise. I mean, they've got 185 UCSD this weekend. They've got 256 Bakersfield for 3 games. And then they finish up with Fullerton with a 147 RPI.
Yeah. That's a factor.
What's the needs report say about UCI, Fitt?
Yeah. So they've got 10 games left. They basically need to get into the top, to finish in the top 16 heading into their conference tournament, which they have this year, as you recall, in the Big West. Yeah. They need to win 9 or 10 of them. I mean, so that suggests they're going to fall. Is what that's telling us.
They have 11 games left before the conference tournament.
11. I'm sorry, they have 1 neutral site game. Yep.
Yeah.
They almost need to win out. It's 10, roughly 9 or 10 wins, I think, to get there.
But if you're the committee, do you give a 5th national seed to the SEC, or do you reward a Western team?
I do feel like that the SEC, because they're going to get so many teams in the tournament, that there may be some give and take here, and you'll see it.
I kind of like the
host.
UCI
Maybe
pick.
it's a top 8.
Do.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
And you know what? Hey, if they have a couple of stinkers, the RPI drops a little bit, then we can make that change next week.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, certainly the intended strength of schedule here is loud. Like the fact that they played in the desert against Nebraska and Vanderbilt, and, they played at Texas Tech. Well, I know Texas Tech stinks, but it's been friskier of late. Louisiana, like you expect that to be a great series for them, and they've had a bad year too. But I mean, like that's 3 really good weekends to schedule that you think on paper, like wow, that's a great schedule, and it's been a good schedule, but it didn't quite held up the way probably they intended.
Yeah. So while we're on this, not to make this more complicated, While we're on this, Oregon State with an RPI of 12 does have a
Yep.
head-to-head series win
Right.
over UCI, but it was in Corvallis.
Yep. And there's just 2 out of 3, not a sweep. So I think that's,
Yeah.
you give a slight edge to Oregon State there, all things being equal, but I don't think all things are quite equal there.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, the next group, and there are 3 of them, is NC State, West Virginia, and Oregon State. And maybe throw Auburn in there too. That's my next tier.
I think the margin between Irvine and Oregon State is so close that I think Oregon State needs to come in here.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And yeah, I mean, that's the question in the comments here. Do we think Oregon State is done for a top 8? No, I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there's plenty of opportunity. First of all, I mean, they've done a good job. I mean, the schedule that they've built is strong. You've got the series win at Cal Poly. You've got the series win versus Irvine. And you've got opportunities left with 4 at Hawaii, who's had a solid year, and you've got Iowa still. So like, there's still 2 good series left. I mean, I think they need to win all those series if we're talking about a top 8. I think they're out of wiggle room if they want to be a top 8, but they're in the discussion still. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We agree that my next 3: West Virginia, NC State, Auburn, in some order.
I like West Virginia and then NC State here. West Virginia, people can talk, bag on the metrics all day long, but I mean, they're winning all the games they need to win. I mean, they've got a 4-game lead in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think winning that league is going to matter.
That's the key.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to win the league.
It sure looks like it.
Yeah, I mean,
their finishing schedule a little harder than their schedule to date, I think.
Yeah.
What do you got? Both Kansas teams coming up, I believe. Do I have that right? It's let's see, it's versus Texas Tech, then at Kansas State versus Kansas. So I mean, 2 of the last 3 are at home. Yeah, certainly like their chances to win the league, and
they'll pass the eyeball test too. They're good. They're a really good team.
Yep, and those will be 6 quad 1 games that they need, because I believe the road games at Kansas State will count as quad 1, and the home games versus Kansas as well. So big opportunity there. Right now they're 6-3. Sorry, right now they're 6-3 quad 1, which actually is better than I realized. Maybe that's improved of late, but so yeah, they're in the mix too in this. I mean, for sure. I guess they're still a little shy of the top 8, but they're in the top 8 discussion, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. So this is my order. It was West Virginia, NC State, Auburn. How do you guys see it?
I still like West Virginia, NC State, Auburn in that order.
Aaron?
Yeah.
I mean, Auburn does have that incredibly high RPI. So you're kind of wondering if the committee would move Auburn so far down away from Vanderbilt and Georgia.
Yeah, but 11 and 10.
I think they're going to have a hard time getting to 16 and 14 because their schedule is so tough. Yeah. Their intra SEC SOS is through the roof.
They finish at Tennessee, South Carolina, at Ole Miss. Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, those road series are gonna. They're
gonna need to sweep South Carolina at home.
Exactly.
Yep. So yeah, I think that makes sense. West Virginia, NC State, Auburn, and
okay.
I mean, again, ultimately, I kind of think NC State is going to wind up higher than this, but we'll see how it plays out.
Okay. So that leaves 2 more. So our candidates, TCU, Kansas, Arizona, UCLA. Is Oregon a candidate?
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina. Yeah, I forgot about Coastal. Carolina.
Yeah, Coastal got to be in there.
Yeah,
Although, they need to be in there. Again, I mean, 3-6 against Q1, but I mean, number 20 NCAA non-conference season schedule. They're dominating their conference at 17-4. I would probably have them.
They're in there. Yeah. And so that's 1 spot. So TCU, Kansas, Arizona, UCLA.
I think Arizona's out for now. I mean, Arizona's down to 26 in the RPI.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they're out.
You mentioned Oregon. I mean, Oregon's down to 35 in the RPI. Now they are 14-7 in the league, and they have the head-to-head win against UCLA. But UCLA 16-5 and they're 17. I think that kind of outweighs the fact they lost the head-to-head to Oregon. And a nice response this weekend by UCLA sweeping Penn State. I was out there on Sunday. I like UCLA's team a lot. I think they finished strong. I think I would go them here.
Kendall?
Yeah.
TCU would be the other one that I think you really have to look hard at.
For me, that it's UCLA or TCU for that last spot.
Yeah, and the thing about that for TCU, 11-5 on the road, 25 non-conference schedule. So better than UCLA, 7-5 Q1 versus 2-5, better than UCLA, better in Q2. Yeah. Everything's better.
Yeah, the
Except UCLA could win the Big Ten.
Probably won't though, because they're what are they, 2.5, 3 games back right now? They're 16-5. Iowa is a lot.
But Iowa's going to start playing better teams.
Yeah, that's true. Iowa's 20-4, so it's actually only 1 game difference in the loss column. But
so the other teams to mention, Alabama and Ole Miss, they each have very challenging road series coming up this week. Ole Miss goes to Norman. Alabama goes to Nashville. Should they win those? I'm not sure I would project that. But if they do, then we're going to have a different discussion next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like they're in the same boat with like Ole Miss and Bama, but Louisville will be another team.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, right now we have 7 SEC hosts and 4 ACC.
Yeah.
That would create a little bit more balance. But so let's look at their series wins.
Florida State, obviously, this weekend was a big one.
Florida State, North Carolina, both at home. Cal, BC, lost the series NC State, lost the series to Clemson.
But didn't get swept in either of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
hanging around.
Virginia
Tech
hanging
around.
Well.
I don't think maybe another weekend for them, but they're getting closer.
They have the wins that first week against Texas and Arizona. Let's not forget about that. I mean, not a lot of teams have wins against Texas this year.
Yeah.
That's an intriguing one for sure. They're right there in that discussion with TCU and UCLA for me. I would say just behind those two. I think you might have convinced me on TCU, Kendall, just that the Q1 difference compared to UCLA's 7-5 versus 2-5.
Yeah.
That stands out to me. I mean, 14-7 in the Big 12 is good. They've got at Arizona versus Cincinnati, at Utah to finish.
Yeah, they swept Kansas.
I'll tell you what though, it's a big series at Arizona this weekend. I mean, if let's say they go out there and lose 2 out of 3, would you yank them back out next week as a?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that'd be 2 out of 3 series losses in a league that's not quite as good as the SEC.
Well, if we're projecting that, then do we just want to make a preemptive strike?
I actually kind of think they win that series.
They might. I mean, they could certainly. They're good enough to, but I would kind of defer to the home team generally in I think a pretty evenly matched series there.
Yeah.
And Tucson's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
So maybe we stick with UCLA for another week.
Okay.
And I mean, what do you guys think? We can take a vote on it if you guys both like TCU. I mean, I'm on the fence. I've gone back and forth on this one just over the last 5 minutes.
Well, I kind of think TCU is going to lose at Arizona. Just going on the road.
UCLA also has a big road series, but it's at USC, so it's really a road series for both teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And they could lose that one. They absolutely could.
Yep. But it feels like probably a better chance, in my opinion, for UCLA to win that series than for TCU. Although, again, both of them could go either way. That's why they play the games.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's hold court. Yeah, we'll hold court with UCLA there, or hold serve, I guess is the phrase.
Yeah. So that's our top 16. I mean, it's Texas, LSU, Florida State, Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Clemson, UC Irvine. That's your top 8. And then 9 through 16, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Oregon State, West Virginia, NC State, Auburn, Coastal Carolina, and UCLA.
Yeah, so the two teams out as hosts this week are Arizona and TCU.
Yep.
And the two teams in to be NC State and
Irvine.
Yep.
And Irvine also is a new top 8 this week, along with North Carolina, replacing Clemson and Vanderbilt.
Okay.
So you have it.
That's our host. So now we will switch over and go through conference by conference, pick our automatics and our at-large candidates, and then we'll see how much room we have. And at the end of that exercise, we'll cut some bait.
Yeah.
Mark, can you answer this question from James? Why do you hate TCU?
Yeah,
it's long-standing. It's I had a bad experience with a lily pad years ago, and it's just haunted me ever since.
Just a heads up, a horned frog definitely does not live on a lily pad.
I bet they could do some damage though with those horns. If you step on one, that probably
don't they spit blood out of their eyes or something?
I hate all frogs.
I feel like I should know this being a Texan, but I do not know this.
No, you're beat.
Yeah, I think they spit blood out of their eye to scare
now you're just making
animals.
stuff up.
This is bogus.
No, I'm not. James, I want you to tell us the answer to this question. Does a horned frog spit blood out of its eye? Please respond. All right, let's move on.
In the meantime, there's another question here that I'll answer real quickly. Daniel Sargent asks, what do you guys use to see how high a team can get for RPI? So part of it is I do use this. We've referenced the RPI needs report at boydsworld.com, which is just kind of a rough guideline of how many wins a team needs to get certain key thresholds, top 8, top 16, top 32, top 45. It's not precise. And it changes, of course, as teams do different things, but it kind of gives you a rough estimate of which way a team's RPI is likely to trend and how much they need to do.
Yep. Good question.
All right, so we'll go to part 2, the conference by conference look at our automatic qualifiers and our at-large teams. And as always, we'll begin in the America East, where Maine was our pick last week, and they remain in first place after taking 2 out of 3 from the Highlanders of New Jersey Tech. It's a tight race there with Bryant right there at 10-5. They're, I guess, tied percentage-wise. Bryant's played 3 fewer games, but let's stick with the Black Bears, guys.
Yep, works for me.
Okay. To the American Athletic Conference, where UTSA remains the pick, 15-3 in the league, 33-10 overall. This is a safe at-large team, 1-bid league unless somebody beats UTSA in the conference tournament, in which case that would gobble up a bid. Yeah,
that's a scary team in the postseason too. UTSA can really hit.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see them at East Carolina here, I think in about a week or so. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
The A10, let's see, where are you, A10? George Mason was our pick. There's currently a 3-way tie. Of course, there's a 3-way tie in the A10. That's just how this league rolls every year.
Just leave George Mason. We got a 3-way tie. They just got a series win over the Roadies.
I was going to say they just had a big series win against Little Roadie, showdown series. We'll stick with George Mason, but there's some good teams.
North Carolina. They're at North Carolina tomorrow. Fitzy,
they're there right now, we speak. Yeah, I was hoping to get over there, but they changed the game time and I missed it. So, oh well. Onward.
Do better, Carolina.
No respect. ACC. We've got. Let's see. So we've already got Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, and NC State in as hosts.
Yep.
And then we've got Louisville in, Wake Forest, still safe, 12-12 with a 25 RPI. Georgia Tech still safe, of course, with their conference record and RPI. Miami still safe. They continue to surge. I think they've won 4 straight series now.
Yeah, how about Miami being very safely in?
12-9 in the league with a 34 RPI. Kudos to those guys for fighting after a really lousy first half of the season. They've really found something here. Our guy Bradley Smart's been all over that. It's kind of written about what's different for them. And then Virginia Tech as well. They are 11-13 in the league now. RPI down to 37. They lost 2 out of 3 at Duke this past weekend. They have lost 3 straight series, so not trending in the right direction. I think they're still okay, but they are slipping onto the bubble.
Let me propose something to you here. Virginia. Virginia has won 3 straight series.
Yep.
Excuse me, 2 straight series. My bad. They had the Florida State canceled, but they finished the season with Miami at home and at Virginia Tech. If we're projecting that they win both of those series, which I'll kind of defer to you on this one, I'm not sure. I don't like them actually getting in over Virginia Tech.
Yeah. I think you could be onto something there. Now,
VT's 11-13 in conference.
The issue is the RPI still. They did climb in the RPI after this weekend, but they're still just 71. And there's they're not even on the needs report because I don't think they have a path to get into the top 45. Yeah. Noah Bienick asks, Virginia's RPI may not be pretty, but if you get 16 plus ACC wins, they're in, right? And I would say ask Louisville that question because last year
it didn't work.
It did not work for Louisville. Yeah. They were Louisville
by the way,
16-14 last year with a 61 RPI, and they did not get in. But they were also just 7-16 Q1. They had a lousy non-conference strength of schedule. So you have to look at those things for Virginia, and it's.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're in Charlottesville, I highly recommend leaving sprinklers on because their next 3 games against RPI 233, 258, and 273. So if you're in Charlottesville, just go turn that sprinkler on.
You need a rain out or two.
My bad.
That's the problem. Boy, oh boy. Ooh. And that's and those are, some name brand teams too, like VCU, who was in a regional last year. They're 14-29 with the 233 RPI. Like you don't expect that. You have to schedule that series if you're UVA. it's a good in-state team. And then Navy, is a good program. They're down at 258, despite having a winning record. Like, what are you going to do? You have to play the teams in your area. It's just.
Here's where I am on them. Certainly last week helped, moved them in the right direction. I'm not sure the RPI is going to get where it needs to go unless they just go on some sort of just incredible run. And if you're banking on an incredible run, I think it's too early. I think we need more sample size that this is truly who they are, and they're not just going to be, because if they're just okay the rest of the way, it's not going to be enough.
I think they figured some things out, but I just think, gosh, that again, we talked about it.
It's such a steep climb.
It's a steep climb, and they really needed those road games in Tallahassee. So, I still feel like UVA is going to find a way to win the ACC tournament and then win the national title. But it's not going to be easy. It almost feels like they have to win the ACC tournament the way things are going. Maybe win these last 2 series and then make a deep run in the conference tournament, gets that RPI up. But like just getting to 16 wins in conference, I don't think the RPI is going to be there.
This would be a great question for JRT. He's a committee chairman who we're going to do a podcast with the next couple of weeks. But, how does the committee, let's just say for a second that Virginia wins this next 2 series. And let's just say their RPI is 58. Do you take into account that lost series? Something totally out of their control?
Yeah. I think it should be considered.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one thing. Why maybe when we get off here, I'll ask him. But I do wonder if that will be considered.
The other side of that is they could have also lost all 3 of those games.
They could have.
But this is Florida State you're playing,
right? But just going on the road and playing them, most likely would have given them a boost.
Just winning one. It's 1.3 and 1.4, right?
Yep. So that would have been huge.
Right.
Yep.
For now, Virginia Tech is fine, but keep it on the who's.
Yeah, I added Virginia to the sheet as well.
Okay.
And I agree with you that if Virginia Tech continues trending the wrong way and Virginia trends well, maybe you take the team with the worst RPI based on the back 6 weeks or something in the head-to-head. But going to Blacksburg, that's always an interesting series there, chippy. So should be one to watch.
The
All
other
right.
team to watch would be Notre Dame. I'm
Yes.
not there yet, but they are on the rise.
Yeah, 10-14 in the league now with a 47 RPI. They've kind of steadied themselves after a, rough start to conference play. So they're just getting fat on the weak West Coast wing of the ACC. How wild is that? Notre Dame just last 2 weeks swept Stanford on the road and then swept Cal, and that's how they're back in the hunt. Like, come on, West.
Yeah. Come on, what's
together.
KP and what's the KP collective doing out in Palo Alto right now? Come on, guys,
get with it. All right, so that's it for the ACC. But what I'm going to do with Notre Dame is I'm just going to kind of hold them, and if we have a next group also considered, they would be considered for that.
All right, sounds good. Sorry, I whiffed on the cough button there, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so
let's go to the A-Sun. Unless that's it, right? BC had been at one point. I don't think
Stetson. It is.
Yep.
Although Austin Peay still 18-3, so both those teams 18-3. Stetson, not quite an at-large position, but RPI is at least respectable at 73. And Aaron saw those guys opening weekend. They're a pretty good club.
I like them. Yeah, I like their team. I like Austin Peay's team a lot. Again, they both feel like bona fide. I say this every week. They both feel like bona fide regional teams, but the RPIs aren't going to be there for at large. So it's going to be one bid league. And haven't seen any reason not to go with Stetson, and they don't play. So we'll just go with Stetson. But I mean, again, like, I'm not trying to disrespect Austin Peay here. I think they're really good. And they're 34-10. I mean, they're 34-10. They've had a great year.
They play Ole Miss tonight too.
Interesting. All right. Big 12. We haven't had a lot of change in the Big 12 from week to week. West Virginia, TCU, Kansas, Arizona State has slipped in the RPI some, but they're still 14-7, 46. I think they're fine. Arizona, of course, is still safe. And then Kansas State has been kind of the bubble team of late. And this weekend they had a much needed 3-1 week against Houston and Wichita.
The dust has really settled in this league. It just the postseason contenders are very obvious at this point.
Yep.
And then Oklahoma State, a team that we discussed last week. They win that midweek game as DBU, but they follow that up with a series loss at Cincinnati. Just not looking very good for the Pokes right now. They're 7-11 in the league, 4-13 against Q1, and a pretty rough RPI at 65. Just very tough pathway for OSU.
Yeah.
Cincinnati did bounce back from getting swept by West Virginia by taking 2 out of 3 from Oklahoma State, but I still think it's probably not going to happen for them. I mean, they're just 24-20 overall, 58 RPI. They played a good schedule, but 10-11 in the league. I mean, I think they're still on the radar, but probably not on the board here right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would be the next team.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Big East. We had 2 last week, Xavier and UConn. Gosh, the UConn Huskies every year.
Yeah,
13
Xavier
in a row.
Played them before they went scorched earth on everybody.
Yeah, they've won 13 in a row now. They're up to 39th in the RPI, 11-4 in the league. And Xavier is still 30 in the RPI, 11-4 in the league. They're both in. They're both at large teams right now. I mean, this could be a 3-bid league if somebody else wins a conference tournament. I mean, I don't, there's still a chance that one of those teams could get knocked out of it, depending on how they finish. But right now, it's looking like those are both safe at large teams.
And we still projecting Xavier since they won the head-to-head as the auto.
I think that's probably the play.
Yeah, that's good.
Just defer to that.
Okay. Any interest in Creighton for a radar team?
Radar, yeah, much like Cincinnati, I would have them on the radar. 28-13 overall, 9-3 in the league, but just 66 in the RPI. They've, I think, no Q1 opponents. Is that right to date?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Be right. So the UConn games at home.
Yep.
The UConn games at home don't count as Q1.
That's true.
That seems silly.
It's because the quads are stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So I'm gonna add a list of radar teams at the bottom here.
It's in effect in Omaha.
Yeah. Where are we here? Big South. High Point is tied still with Upstate. 11-4. Still like High Point, but good race there. I think two dangerous teams.
High Point just swept Wofford this past weekend.
Yeah, Wofford not having a very Wofford-like year.
Yeah.
Big Ten. Iowa, UCLA, Oregon, USC have been the four, and I think that's still the case, and you can pretty much set it and forget it. I mean, again, Iowa is in the same spot last week. Their RPI is in the 50s, 59, 20-4 in the league though in first place, and I just think that's a spot where you get some RPI leeway.
Yeah. Penn State would be another team to watch down the stretch. You know, they really, really needed to win that UCLA series. They ended up getting swept. But Penn State has 2 winnable series to finish conference play. They could get their conference record up. And then, by the way, the Nittany Lions finished the season with a home series against Xavier. So they can improve their positioning going into conference tournament.
78 though in the RPI.
Yeah, I mean they're going to need to be in the 40 range probably to have a chance.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're Iowa with let's say you finish at 59 in the RPI, but you win the league and do so convincingly.
Yeah.
Okay, then you can get in. But if Penn State's down at 8th place, like they got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, like we always say, if your RPI is not in the traditional at-large range, then you need something to convince the committee that the RPI is just wrong on this team. Whether it's, hey, you've got a bunch of good wins or you dominated your conference or something like that. So not sure I see that yet.
Also keep an eye on, again, Michigan.
Washington
kind of rebounded this past weekend. Michigan 53 in the RPI, but just 11-10 in the league, 7th place. Got work to do. Washington has better conference record at 13-8, but they're 80th in the RPI, just 24-20 overall. 1-9 Q1. So I don't see it happening for Washington, but right now it feels like the same 4 teams.
Agreed.
The Big West remains Irvine and Poly. Poly, despite getting swept, is still 27 in the RPI. Just 2-10 Q1, but boy, did they play some good teams on the road. I mean, and I know they got swept by UCLA and Oregon State, but they won a game against A&M on the road. So, those 3 series. But actually, they did not get swept by Oregon State. I'm sorry. They won a game against them too. So, those are 3
I do think as you look ahead, here are the RPIs of the teams remaining on their schedule.
Yeah, it's troubling.
212, 256, 275, 200, 224. I do think if they trip up in a few of these games, let's say their RPIs in that 40 to 45 range, they could be in trouble with that Q1 record.
Yep. No, you're right. And I know Larry Lee is aware of that and nervous about it. They have 11 games left. Needs report says they can finish in the top 45 if they win 9 or 10 of those last 11. And you know what? That's what you need to do. You're playing lesser teams. None of those teams they're playing are good. They all have losing records, significantly losing records in most cases. Go ahead and win 9 or 10 of them. If you're going to be a regional team, not large team, that's what you need to do.
Hawaii would be a radar team if they finish strong. The RPI is top 60 right now.
But they're 8.5 games out of first place in that league.
You're 11-11.
We've got a discrepancy with the RPI. I'm looking somewhere else. I'm seeing it a little lower than that, Mark. 72.
This is on the report that.
Okay. Is that as of what's the date? Is this report as of?
It was this morning. It was this morning.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, I think they've got some work to do.
Yeah, how about the CAA?
Okay, we'll take them all. CAA.
The Northeastern Huskies, the pride of Brookline.
And without a doubt.
Yep. And also an at-large team. Right now, 33 RPI. Really having a great year. Our guy Shotgun Spratling wrote about Northeastern this weekend. Saw them. If you're interested, you can find that at d1baseball.com. Conference USA. We've got
DBU.
They may be the automatic now.
Yeah, let's make that change.
They would be. In Western Kentucky, we've talked about them so many times this year.
Yeah.
But, they are suddenly
getting
into a position to where they cannot trip up down the stretch. You look at that 275 ranked non-conference strength of schedule. If they finish third or fourth in that league, and their RPIs 55 to 60.
They're not
I don't think they're getting in.
Yeah. It's such a bad non-conference schedule.
They're the prime example every year when we see this mid-major who has a good year, has a gaudy record, doesn't do a whole lot in non-conference, and the committee goes, I don't know that we know how good you are, and we leave you out.
275 non-conference strength of schedule. I mean, and now they're just 11-7 in the league. We can leave them on the sheet, but I'm with you. I'm nervous about them. That could be a team that gets cut here today.
Yeah.
That's a
Kennesaw State.
Big setback this past weekend, getting swept by FIU.
The only other team you can mention here is Kennesaw State, 8-2 in their last 10, 54 in the RPI, still only 22-21 overall, but they're one game out of first place.
They're surging.
I mean, they're not in, but just keep an eye on them.
Yeah, radar team.
Yep. Is Santa Barbara done? Just backtracking for a second to the Big West. I mean,
they're done. They lost the series to UCSD over the weekend.
Yep. I mean, it's
they're going to have to win the conference tournament. They just don't have a pathway to get in range.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right.
Horizon.
The
Wright State Athletic Conference.
Indeed.
Wright State, 18-3 in the league, 98 RPI. The next team, NKU, 232.
Yeah, and
so
6 games
total
back.
domination.
6 games back as well. Total domination. To the Ivy, we had Yale last week. Yale continues to win. They won 6 in a row. They're tied for first with Columbia. Let's stick with the Yaleys, boys.
Yeah. Columbia got that big series win over Penn last week, and I know Hayden Shaw will be excited about that one.
To everyone's favorite part of the show, the MAC.
There's some person who's watching this for the first time on Twitter going, "What?"
Yeah, exactly.
What? Why is this such a big deal?
Why is this guy talking this way?
What is this guy's deal? Fairfield 18-3, 33-10 overall, 67 RPI. It's going to be light for an at-large, but it's they're having a great year. Gosh, they're having
a great year. And I want to say, was it Shotgun or Patrick that wrote about them last week? I think it's Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, wrote about the Stags.
Our staff is just crushing it. Blanket coverage.
Yeah.
Onward. It's like Ty Law coverage is what we got going on right now.
The Southeastern Conference, boys and girls.
Hey, hold on. No, hold your horse.
You got to go to the MAC.
We've got several. You're just skipping over like 5 leagues here. What's up with you? The
SEC homer.
God's sakes, calm down. Ball State, we had last week in the Mid-American Conference. They are still percentage points ahead of Miami, Ohio after, let's see, they took 2 out of 3 at Central Michigan. Big series against Kent State. I say we stick with Ball State, but it's a good race there between those teams. And Kent State has played well of late. They're in the mix as well. One bid league.
Yeah, Ball State has not lost a series since the middle of March.
Yeah.
Against Xavier, ironically enough.
Is that ironic?
I don't know. Alanis Morissette said it was.
I don't think.
Most of the things in that song are not ironic.
Yeah. So it fits in.
That's another pod.
By the way, I got to pat myself on the back for the Alanis Morissette reference.
I'll give you +1.
Thank you.
Missouri Valley Conference. I think we had Missouri State. They are still in first place by a game over Murray State in Southern Illinois. They won 2 out of 3 against Evansville this weekend. Let's stick with Missouri State.
Yep.
Mountain West. Fresno remains the pick. 3 games ahead of New Mexico and Nevada. They're 15-6 in the league.
Am I the only person a little surprised that Washington State's bringing it up the rear at 15-27?
I'm surprised as well.
Yeah, yes. That's weird.
Thought they would be a contender in that conference.
There'd be enough left from last year to be able to compete.
Hashtag not good, Bob.
Yeah. NEC. Kendall's ready to go right to the SEC. We got 3 more leagues still.
The real Blue Devils.
Central got to get the real Blue Devils.
He told me one time.
That's right. 19-2. Pride of the Nutmeg State. They're the team. They're only a game ahead of Long Island, though.
Are they really proud of their nutmeg?
They're the pride of the Nutmeg State. I think the whole state is proud of them.
Oh, man.
Take that, Jim Penders.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Ohio Valley. We had SEMO last week. I think we can stick with SEMO. They're tied for first still with SIUE. Both teams
Joe Healy's Cougars tied at the top. SEMO does have the head-to-head series win, though.
Joe Healy doesn't have a favorite in this league. He's an unbiased.
I thought he used to be very much a SIUE homer.
Yeah, maybe so.
He is the one SIUE homer.
Yeah. We'll stick with SEMO here.
Yeah.
Should we go to the Holy Cross Athletic League, guys?
Why don't we?
How about those
I was very disappointed that you did not milk the Crusaders winning that big series over the weekend in the group chat.
I was on the road. There's a lot going on. I felt bad for you guys after I went 8-2 in the picks and surged past a bunch. But the Rune Dogs,
you guaranteed me 10-0.
I can't pile on the poor downtrodden Rune Dogs. It's like 56 and 52 in the picks. Really disgraceful season.
I'm only slightly better. So
I got
I'm gonna have to open my eyes making the picks this week.
Yeah, I got the Mississippi State hot board up last night. Today I'm working on the Runes Dog hot board.
They need to change. It's time. I know it's in season.
Who are we replacing Runes with on the staff?
He may be Stitch. He's having a great year.
How about that?
He's going to take
over here killing it.
In any event, the Crusaders of Holy Cross, 15-7 league, now a full 2.5 games clear of Army and Navy. What a year for the boys from Fitt and Field, sweeping Rooney's Lafayette Leopards this weekend. Get out of here, Lafayette. You come into Worcester County, show some respect. Next. Hey, Kendall, want to talk about the SEC?
He does. He's chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about a lot of these teams already. I'll just read them in no particular order here. This is Tennessee, Arkansas, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, A&M, Florida. Those were all the teams we had in last week. Again, that's not in any particular order. I think that's still what we got.
So A&M, even though they were swept, I feel like they're still going to win enough down the stretch to get in.
Yeah, I agree.
So they'll
win at least one this weekend. They'll win one against Georgia and they'll sweep Missouri. That's not including the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I do like. I mean, the fact that they're home this weekend against LSU, they could win that series. They could win it. I mean, and I think LSU might be the best team in the country. But, A&M is good enough to win that series at home. So if they do, then they're really safe. But yeah, I think probably with what you're projecting there, Kendall, would be a 5-4 finish down the stretch, gets them to 13 wins.
Yeah,
RPI is fine. They're probably. I think they're still safe. Florida, though, continues to strengthen its position. They're 8-13 in the league, 19th in the RPI. After taking that big series against Arkansas, they're not even on the bubble anymore. I think they're just safe, right? For now.
Yeah, they're in. The only concern I have for them is they still have to go to Texas, and apparently it's illegal to win games in Austin for the opposition. So obviously, most bubble teams aren't having that kind of difficult opponent. So that does give me pause.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the Mississippi State.
Yeah,
7-14 in the league. They finished with Kentucky and Ole Miss at home, and at Missouri. There is absolutely a pathway to 13 wins here. The question is, can the SEC get a 14th team?
Yeah. Mark's been talking about that for weeks now. And they just refuse to take advantage of the opportunities that they've had, and they continue to make the path more difficult. Yep. But they're still alive, even now at 7-14. Yeah. They're still a path.
They're alive now. With obviously, for those who've been not following, Chris Lamanis, their head coach, was let go yesterday. Justin Parker, their pitching coach, takes over. So now, what does that look like? Is this going to be a Alabama with Jason Jackson and they go on a great run and have a strong finish, or is it like some others that we've seen where the U kind of play out the string? There's no way to know yet. So if they play well, they're going to make a regional. If they just kind of stay status quo, they're not. So it's what are we projecting? right down the stretch.
Yep. I think I'm still in wait and see mode.
I am too. I definitely want to see what happens. They've got Kentucky this weekend. Kentucky's playing really well. That's even though it's at the dude. That's a tough one for me.
Yep.
But even if they lose the series, they're still alive because of what's left.
Yeah. So we'll put them on the put them on the radar clump here. But also, you're right. I mean, as a 14th team in the league, they could get 14 teams in, as you've talked about, Mark. I mean, how many they get in basketball this year?
14. Of course, there's 68 teams instead of 64 for basketball.
That makes a difference. So good point.
So the bubble's bigger.
Chad Edwards has had enough. Go ahead and throw in South Carolina, Missouri too. Why not? You know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's. I'd love to see Missouri in there.
Not Missouri.
Listen, I feel your pain, Chad, but it's the SEC.
I'm pretty sure Chad is an Ole Miss fan, so it's very interesting that he's bagging on the SEC. Interesting.
All right. Let's go to the SoCon. East Tennessee State feels so. We had UNCG. They got swept. East Tennessee State, Mercer, Samford are kind of now the teams at the top. I say we go back to East Tennessee State. I think that's where I go down here.
I think so too.
Okay. All right, on to the Southland. Big weekend for the Vaqueros. Took 2 out of 3 from McNeese.
Yes.
Southeastern boys is now alone in first place at 18-6 with a 52 RPI. We had a lengthy discussion about this league last week because they have 3 teams that are viable at-large candidates, and we wondered how many would wind up being viable at-large candidates. At the end of the day, we wound up with just 1, and it was McNeese, and then they lost that series. And so I don't know how we're thinking now. So I mean, Southeastern does have a head-to-head series win against UTRGV. It was 2 out of 3. It was at home, and they lost 2 out of 3 at home against McNeese.
Yeah.
UTRGV still has the best RPI here, 36th. But they won one of those series. They lost the series to Southeastern, but they won the series this weekend against McNeese. So they got that going for them. And then McNeese now is 17-7 in the league, 42 RPI. I mean, we're kind of in a similar spot as last week, right? Where it's just like 3 teams have, and Lamar even is in shouting distance at 62 in 4th place, 2 games back. You got some teams here that have viable cases. Can this be a 2-bid league? Can it? It's not going to be a 3-bid league.
With just looking at the strength of schedule, that sort of thing, non-conference strength of schedule, UTRGV. That's too hard to say.
It is tough to say.
That team, theirs is pretty good, right? It's showing here 26. While the others are terrible, 264, 301. That's the kind of team that can get an at-large bid, even though they don't have a ton of wins that really, blow up your skirt. So it's metrics versus, looking at the
some vivid imagery there, Master General.
Yeah.
I hate when the wind blows up my skirt.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So it's obviously somebody, you got to pick somebody's the automatic. So
yeah.
And Southeastern's in first place right now.
Yeah, and the head-to-heads are just kind of like round and round you go because they've each beat each other once in a series. So they've all played each other now.
Which of these teams has a member on the committee?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but if you project them as the automatic,
right?
Yeah, we can project Sela as automatic.
Yeah.
That saves us a headache.
I'd probably lean RGV as the other team.
Yeah, I think at this point, now that RGV has the head-to-head against McNeese and is a little bit better in the RPI, it's not a huge gap there.
Thanks for Logan Crow for letting us know. But UTRGV is up 9-3 on Texas Tech on the road, which Texas Tech's RPI, even with a crappy overall record, their RPI is like 60. So.
Because they play
That's
great
true.
opponents, and opponents are a portion of
Yeah,
that one.
so you get a boost with the opponent's part, but also Texas record really hurts your opponent's record. So like it's kind of still a net loss, even if Texas Tech has a good RPI.
Well, but it's on the road.
So yeah, but it's on a road, so yeah, right. It kind of offsets it. Good point. Anyway, let's add Southeastern as the automatic, and we'll put UTRGV back on the board as potential at large, and McNeese will add to this clump of radar teams here. But for now, they're out this week. Okay. SWAC. We had Bethune-Cookman. They remain in first place, 2 games up, despite losing a series to Arkansas Pine Bluff, Kendall.
Stout your stuff.
They're coming. Arkansas Pine Bluff is coming. Really played a lot better. But, you've got Alabama State as well.
Mm-hmm.
FAMU, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably stick with the first place team here, Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
2 games up. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Summit League, of course, St. Thomas not eligible this year. They're in first place. So you've got Oral Roberts or North Dakota State. We had Oral Roberts last week. I think they're still the pick. They're 12-8.
Yeah, they just took a series from the Tommy. Oh, they split 2.
Yeah.
Or split 4, sorry.
So we'll stick with ORU.
But are you very pleased that ORU's RPI is at least 105?
I'm proud of them. Yeah, that's more what I'm looking for from. I mean, we don't have to go down this road again. Last year was an aberration, and we're over that. Good job, everybody.
Actually, I believe you said it was an outrage.
It was a bit of an outrage.
It was an epic rant. If there's a Nerdcast best of show that we run, maybe none of us can attend. That's going to be front and center.
I'm pretty sure he went on for 12 minutes about the Summit League, which is a D1 baseball record.
Yeah,
that's false.
We don't even talk about Kendall's SEC that much.
Yeah. The Sun Belt gentlemen, Coastal Carolina, who we had as a host, Southern Miss, and Troy. Troy, by the way, still has not lost a series this year. They just like losing Sunday games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't sweep anybody, but they don't lose a series. I think it's just them and Texas might be the only teams that I can think of that haven't lost a series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That will be it out of the league, though. I do want to give a shout out to Arkansas State. Look at the job that Mike Silva's done there, sitting at 11-10 in 5th place in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, good for them.
That guy's a miracle worker.
Getting a jolt there for sure. West Coast Conference, we have a tie for first place now between Gonzaga and San Diego after the Toreros go to Spokane, take 2 out of 3. USD surging. How about that? After that,
they were 2 and 15 or something at one point.
It was
absolutely abysmal start to the season. They're now tied for first. I know there's just 17 and 26 overall, but I think you gotta make that change, don't you?
Sure.
I mean, after they just, they're tied for first and they just beat Gonzaga at their place.
Yeah.
San Diego replaces Gonzaga. This is a 1-bid league. And the WAC, we had Sac State last week. I feel like this conference has been a bit of a revolving door for us this year. Sac State did sweep Riverside. They are at Grand Canyon this week. Again, it doesn't matter. It's a 1-bid league. It's who do you like? The Lopes are back in first. It's a 3-way tie. Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, Sacramento. Let's stick with Sac State. They didn't do anything to lose this spot. We had them here last week. But Grand Canyon did rebound from that loss to Utah Tech by beating Arizona State and then taking 2 out of 3 from UT Arlington. So ultimately, it's probably going to be hard to bet against Grand Canyon when we go into conference tourney week. But for now, we're going to continue to stick with Sac State.
Okay.
So here we go. We got 66 teams for 64 spots.
I got 2. Yep.
And we have some obvious potential cut candidates. They are from
Western
the ACC.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Western Kentucky would be one. Virginia or Virginia Tech. Right now we have both those on the board. UTRGV.
I think Virginia for now definitely needs to come off.
Just with the RPI math.
Yeah, for now.
I just need to see more than one week of it.
Yep. And again, if they had swept that series with Georgia Tech, maybe
and it was so close.
It was right there for them.
They had a big lead at the end and couldn't hold it.
That's boy, they've had a hard time holding leads. That's been an issue. Their bullpen has been a concern. Not having Matt Augustine has been a big blow for them. One spot left, Western Kentucky or UTRGV. Who do you cut here? I think maybe Western Kentucky is
I do too.
In worse shape.
That's what I feel.
So I think I'm okay there. Like Mark said earlier, typically the committee does not treat teams like that favorably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As a mid-major, you got to play people.
Yeah, and or certainly win your league at least.
Yeah, UTRGV, by the way, as a comparison, 27 non-conference strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Versus 274.
Midweek opportunity is much better for RGV than for Western Kentucky, I guess. But also just the early season schedule was just poor for Western Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, Western Kentucky's playing Kentucky now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they have opportunities. Yep. All right, that gets to 64. Not that painful this week. Changes from last week. I've got DBU replaces Western Kentucky as an AQ. Western Kentucky is out. So that's actually, I think, our only at-large change. There's UTRGV in, and then Western Kentucky out. East Tennessee State replaces UNCG as a automatic qualifier. Southeastern Louisiana replaces McNeese. Oh, McNeese falls out too. So I must have missed something else. San Diego replaces Gonzaga. Those are our AQ changes.
Yeah, once again, it just feels like the teams just outside. It feels like the gap between the teams just outside and the teams in is pretty sizable still.
Yeah. So our last four got UTRGV, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, and I need another. Candidates would be Kansas State, Arizona State, USC, Florida, Duke, I guess.
I don't think I would have Duke there.
I don't know. I'm just
14 and 10.
Not a lot of options. Maybe Florida.
Yeah, probably still with that league record.
Yep.
Or Kansas State. There's 6 in the Big 12. 2-9 against Q1. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe K-State.
Yeah, they're probably not as. I would say Florida's probably safer at this point than Kansas State. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think Florida. People won't like that I say this, but I mean, I think Florida is in with 12 wins.
Mm-hmm. Well, if your RPI is top 20 and you're playing really well at the end of the year, that's going to carry some weight, or it has historically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then our next four: Western Kentucky, Virginia, Mississippi State, and McNeese.
I think that feels right to me. Yep. And if you want 4 more to keep an eye on after that,
Notre
candidates
Dame,
would be
Cincinnati,
Notre
Creighton,
Dame,
Michigan, Kennesaw,
Hawaii.
Yeah,
those are kind of the.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, Cincy, and Michigan are 3 good ones. So what's a 4th one?
Kennesaw.
Okay. All right, that works.
Okay. Well, all right, folks. Looks like we have a field. Any final thoughts from you guys before we head out?
I think for me, just we talked about it a lot early in the podcast, is just to see what NC State does these final couple of weeks. They're sitting at 15-6, sizzling hot. That's a team that, as we sit here in a couple of weeks, could easily be a top 8. So NC State trending upward.
Yeah, and I think if they go to Miami this weekend and win that series, I have a feeling when we talk about this next week, they will be higher than we currently have them. I mean, I think they're going to find a way to get there. I don't know. They got RPI work to do. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And it could be, again, one of those situations where you've got a conference champ with a lower RPI, and the committee thinks outside the box a little bit. I mean, so many years it's been like almost straight RPI on the national seed stuff, right? but not always. There are years that they go beyond that a little bit. Curious to see if Virginia can make enough of a run to get up there. If Mississippi State, can go on a run. A couple of home series coming up. I mean, win those, we'll see. So those teams have my attention, and a lot to be determined here down the stretch. It's it feels like a lot of stuff has settled in okay, but there's still things to monitor. So I like where we're at.
Yeah. I think for me, the hardest part of this entire exercise was determining what to do after Texas. Okay. From 2 to, I don't know, probably 12, 13, right? How do you separate those teams? Because they look really similar. And so there's still a lot, especially because a lot of those are power teams. They're playing each other. So there's going to be some losses to be had and also some opportunities to score big wins. So that to me is the hardest thing, is we try to make sense of where we are, a month out. So, so that's going to be fascinating. Love this time of year. And that sounds like a show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Want to thank our sponsors, Academy and Tecovas. Thanks again for all you do to help college baseball. And with that, we'll talk to you next week.